Hello everyone, guess what? I've done it. I've only gone and done it. Jeannine, I've done it. Are you proud of me?
I'm so proud of you. Now I know how I can force you to watch more things to make a podcast.
You certainly can, and what a good idea it is. But yes, this is it. This is technically, well, although technically it's not our final MCU episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. It is the last movie that we had in our little list of the 6 MCU movies that I hadn't seen, and that is, of course, Thor: The Dark World. That is what we're talking about today. Many people's world's worst MCU movie of all time ever. Was it mine? Who knows? Jeannine, is it yours? Is it your world's worst MCU movie of all time ever?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping this rewatch would give me something more like Iron Man 3 did, but I'm sorry to say, yeah, it's still kind of my least favorite.
Even Iron Man 2?
Yes,
Okay.
even better than Iron Man 2. At least that had Justin Hammer and some fun things in there.
That's very true. Iron Man 2 did have Justin Hammer, Sam Rockwell, and all that business. I feel like, however, to start us off, I feel like I'm far less likely to forget Thor: The Dark World than I am Iron Man 2.
Really?
I feel like Iron Man 2 is relatively forgettable, where I don't actually feel, first bold statement of the however long recording, however long podcast this may be, first bold statement is, I don't think this movie is forgettable at all, Thor: The Dark World.
That is a very bold statement, I would say.
I don't think it's boring
I
either.
watched it twice, and it was hard for me to pay attention aside of the things that I really do enjoy in this movie. Those moments, I was like, okay, I'm really focusing, and then after that, I was like looking at my phone and doing work on my computer and kind of spacing out slightly.
Okay then, so coming from someone who saw it presumably when it came out, 2013, there are things that you do like about Thor: The Dark World. What are those?
Loki.
Just
Definitely.
Loki.
Loki was great in this movie. I especially love all the stuff with Frigga and Loki, their relationship, and showing, how she kind of humanizes him in ways. I loved all of that. So those were probably my favorite things of the movie.
I do agree that Loki's actually better in this movie than he's in Thor 1. He has actually a little bit more to do. He's a bit more trickstery.
Yes.
Even though he's technically not the main sort of villain of the movie. We'll get onto that piece of actual garbage later.
So what makes this movie memorable for you?
Look, saying memorable and saying not boring.
Hey, well, you said it's not forgettable, so that would make it memorable, right?
No, that's like saying if I don't hate something, I love something. These are very stark, contrasting opposites.
Okay, well then
here.
what makes it not forgettable?
All the Asgard stuff I really enjoy.
Okay, I agree. I like that we got to see more of Asgard.
Way more of Asgard. The budget was actually there in 2013, that wasn't there in 2011 when Thor came out, I think.
We got to see the people, the clothes, the world, the tech.
It's exactly what I wanted from the first Thor, this level of Asgardian
production and I did enjoy that as well.
Just to see it all and see everyone, all the different people. You get more stuff, like you said, with Frigga, the mother, who is she even in Thor 1? Maybe he's just like, this is Frigga, she's Thor's mother. Thanks, Odin. Thanks for that.
Yeah, she's
And
kind of just there in the first one, essentially.
but she
But this
actually
one,
has stuff to
she had
do.
stuff to do. She got to do a little fighting.
She did, and right as soon as I was actually starting to enjoy her, she dies.
Yeah.
Which I didn't.
But she goes out heroically, so I appreciate that.
She does, but I didn't care for the fact that as soon as I was starting to enjoy Frigga, she just dies, and bye,
Yeah.
bye.
But Loki's reaction to that was great for me. I really loved that.
Definitely, and that is. I completely agree with you. That is one of the better aspects of the actual movie is Loki and Frigga, and Loki in general. I think going from Thor and then the next year, obviously he was the main villain in the Avengers. Going to this, the following
Yes,
year, he had a great few years. Tom
he
Hiddleston
did.
as Loki.
But yeah, I feel like this is like really humanizes him. Like she goes to talk to him, and he says this hurtful thing to her that she's not really his mother, and then you can see he immediately regrets it, which I love. And he goes to touch her, but she's not really there.
Yeah.
And then when Thor comes to talk to him, he thinks Thor's trying to talk to him about their mother, but Thor doesn't want to talk about that. And you even see him kind of like concealing how messed up he is about it. He's trying to look like everything's fine, but Thor can see through that. And then once he reveals like the room's all messed up, he just looks, very distraught. So I loved all of that. I just loved seeing him try to hide his true feelings and his humanity, but he couldn't really do that. And Frigga was like a big part of humanizing him. And we never really got to see a lot of that from him.
Yeah.
You got to see some honest emotion, like positive emotion from him. And I really liked that.
Which is good. It's sort of a little transition into what he's kind of like in later movies. In Ragnarok, he's a bit more like that. He shows his
Oh yeah,
a bit of emotion,
like
a bit more.
my favorite part in that is like with him is when he says Odin's son and he looks to Thor, and that just broke my heart because he's like really accepting that now.
Yeah, and that's in at the start of Infinity War, right as he ends up dying, and
yes.
as I'm sure everyone's aware, he better stay dead.
Well, not if he's getting some HBO streaming service series.
But as
or,
a lot of
or
people,
a Disney streaming service series, I mean.
As a lot of people saying, we don't know when that's set. I hope it's before.
Okay. Well,
Before the first Thor.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody knows how I feel about this.
Yes.
Don't bring back the dead people.
Steaks. All the steaks.
Give me steaks, Endgame. Speaking of Endgame, by the way, this very episode, tomorrow, I am seeing Avengers Endgame. Are you seeing Endgame on Thursday, which would be tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, see? So
5 p.m. Regal fan event screening, so I might get free popcorn, a little souvenir.
Very nice, very nice. So what I can actually say outright today, Wednesday, that this is released, I have seen every MCU movie that has been released.
I'm very proud of you.
And if you're coming at me tomorrow, guys who will maybe listening to this saying, well, you haven't seen Endgame yet, that's not technically true anymore, I will say, well, that's where you're wrong, because I have seen Endgame, and will still have seen every MCU movie that has ever been released, and I'm very proud of myself.
Yes, and we will be talking about Endgame next week.
We will.
As our bonus, because we are trying to do a bonus episode for every series of movies we do. So Endgame will be our bonus.
Yeah, and the bonus idea is a good idea, I think. And it just so happened to fit in that we were doing this leading up to Endgame. It just kind of made perfect sense to just talk about Endgame next week. And
because technically Morgan hasn't seen
Endgame
as of this moment.
Technically, Morgan hasn't seen. No, not as of this very moment. Certainly not as of the moment of recording. And because we, of course, do record these quite a few days in advance, because that's what you have to do, Jeannine.
Yes.
That's what you have to do with these
And
kind of things.
it will be very spoiler heavy, will it not?
The
'Cause,
end,
you
certainly.
got a week. You got to wait, people.
Look,
Come on.
yeah. I think honestly, this is Avengers Endgame, right? This is the culmination of 12 years, 11 years, 22,
of all of our
23
lives.
movies.
Well, not your life, because you missed the first 6. So, technically, everyone else's until now.
Everyone else is like. And I'd like to point out as well, I didn't miss the first 6. I missed 6 early
6
ones.
early
Captain America,
ones.
the first Avenger, I saw upon release.
Okay, good job, good job.
Well done, Cap. Love you. Yeah, it's going to be very spoiler heavy. This is Avengers Endgame. 11 years, 23 movies, however long it's been. If you as a human being are not going to go and see it that opening weekend and cause it to make $17 billion worldwide over the course of its run, or however stupid much money it's going to make, by the following Wednesday, if you are listening to a podcast that's called something, Avengers Endgame Talk, you are not going into that thinking,
without spoilers.
Oh, I don't know if there will be spoilers in this or not. I hope there isn't spoilers. It's quite plainly obvious there is going to be spoilers.
Most definitely. So be prepared for that.
As far as I'm concerned, you're an idiot if you click on it and have not seen it.
I mean, I know people who are going to see this movie every day this weekend. So...
Well, those people are insane, and I do know who you mean as well, and I do agree they are insane.
But we love them.
I suppose so. Even though they are insane. Yeah.
Okay.
But Thor the Dark World.
A little early for a tangent, but hey, we know how to get back on track.
Who the hell can we know how to get back on track by just going, anyway, Thor the Dark World.
So, let's discuss the villain in this movie, Malekith.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I said to you, whilst I was actually watching this film, I said to you that this movie would be so much better if he was not involved at all.
Yeah, like, he really didn't need to even be there, and that's where my forgettableness and my boredness and my disinterest kicked in anytime it was anything with him, because
he is very forgettable.
Yes, his plan is very convoluted, and
I still don't really know what it was.
And you still don't really understand why or what, or and then that goes into the ether.
The ether,
which, let's discuss how that ends up being an infinity stone.
Look, it got all confusing for me. During this movie, I was plainly confused by what the difference between the ether and the reality stone is.
Yeah.
And then
because
also...
at least, that kind of... Because the Tesseract, housed the space stone. So the Tesseract had things that were related to the time stone and opened up portals and stuff like that. The Mind Stone helped,
Vision.
Was seen manipulating minds and stuff like that. But the ether didn't really do any reality changing things. Like, I think the whole point of it was to make the world dark, but is that a simulation of darkness, or...
Well, we almost... Look, your confusion is just as confusing as my confusion. It's ridiculous. Yeah. In Infinity War, we see Thanos use the Reality Stone when he's in the Collector's place, right?
Yes.
Where he changes the already destroyed area into, oh, this looks all normal, I'm going to sneak up on the Guardians here and trick them. Yes. And he does that successfully. Well done, Thanos. But in this movie, there's none of that happening. It seems
Yeah.
the ether, which is the reality stone, or is
Yeah, but it's not
something
even a stone.
irrelevant?
And even Odin has a line when Thor takes Jane to Asgard, and he realizes the ether is inside of her. He's reading her a storybook of the whole story of Malekith and the ether and all of that. And he says, while most of these powerful objects are stones, the ether is fluid.
Well,
So he
tell me
even
how
he even
Thanos
says the
can
ether
pick it
is
up.
not a stone. He says it's fluid, and you never see it like it turned into a stone or it housing a stone. It's just this fluid stuff that floats around. And even when they give it to the collector, they have it contained in a little thing, but it's not a stone. It's like Odin says it's fluid. So when does it become a stone?
I think Thanos must freeze it, as a liquid can be frozen, and then he just plops it into the gauntlet.
Apparently.
That's my
Well, because
theory.
there's a part where Thor like tries to destroy it and it breaks into a bunch of pieces and then it looks like shattered pieces of stone, but then it gets fluid again.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like
get it.
I liked that the Tesseract, did things that the Space Stone does, and the Mind Stone, did stuff that the Mind Stone does, but the Ether didn't really do a lot that the Reality Stone does. So, and it wasn't even a stone. So that was, I think, a little sloppy on
Yeah,
the continuity person's end to not really make that work.
it is outrageously confusing for me. I was even getting confused about the difference between the Tesseract and the Space Stone, and I didn't know what was going on. I thought the Tesseract was that box that housed the Space Stone in it.
It is.
But what does that box do that the stone doesn't, or
I think
the
it
other
just
way
makes
round?
the suppresses. It's not the full power of the Space Stone, I would guess.
So Red Skull's holding this box of Tesseract,
Yeah.
and he's just like, and then he gets
Because I guess
carted
it
off
makes
to
it more
Vormir.
manageable. Like you could actually hold on to it more than you could just hold on to the Space Stone on its own.
Well, Thanos does fine.
Well, because he's all powerful.
He's not all powerful. He's going to end up
He's-
dying somehow.
Well, good. Stakes. All the stakes.
And I want Thanos to win.
Now you sound like Raul.
Does Raoul want Thanos to win?
He does. He does.
Fair
Actually.
enough. I happen to agree with Raoul there, which is most unusual. I'm sure everyone
Yeah.
will back me up on that one. But yeah, just that whole through line in this movie was confusing as all
Yeah.
hell.
So maybe I'm overthinking it, but yeah, the way the ether worked in the story didn't make sense with where we are now, and so that was something I kind of really noticed that I maybe didn't really pay attention to before.
Yeah.
So now that I know what I know now and see that now, I realize that the ether doesn't really work as well as the other stones did in the other movies. Like that still kind of lines up, but the ether doesn't really.
Completely agree. And like I was saying about Malekith as well, and the fact that he's even in there doesn't matter at all. He shouldn't even be in there. This movie would be way better if it was like a quest movie where
Yeah.
Thor and Loki were going to save Jane from being trapped by the ether,
Yeah,
or
that
by
would be more
something to do
interesting.
with the ether somewhere. Maybe there's some sort of Norse being, Norse legendary beast, or whatever it is.
Yeah, because even them teaming up like they did was a lot of fun, just like how we got that in Ragnarok. Like seeing them together and their whole little plan and everything. That was very enjoyable. That made it fun. That made it interesting. Like, and then it was still that whole thing. Well, can you really trust him? Because, Tom Hiddleston's doing such a good job of like, you like Loki and you kind of think, after seeing how vulnerable and human he was with all the stuff with his mother, maybe he actually is really good, but then you can't trust that. So I like that whole dynamic was built up really well. So that would have been really fun if it was a quest thing of the two of them trying to save Jane, and then at some point, Loki does more things to where you don't know what side he's on.
Exactly.
Whereas Malekith, yeah, he just didn't really need to be there. He didn't do anything. I mean, did you see how fast like Frigga dispatched him before his big bodyguard guy showed up? Like,
yeah. I didn't get Malekith at all. And look, I like Christopher Eccleston.
Me too. He's my favorite Doctor. Even though you don't watch Doctor Who, what kind of British person are you? I don't know.
Not technically true. Not technically true. I have watched Doctor Who. I watched Christopher Eccleston Doctor Who. I watched David Tennant Doctor Who. So stop lying.
Stop Brit shaming you.
Yeah. And I like Christopher Eccleston. Christopher Eccleston and I are both alumni of the same university.
Oh, wow.
He's from around here somewhere. So I like him in movies. I do not like him in this movie.
Yeah, it's
he
kind
isn't
of just a waste.
He's completely wasted. He didn't do anything. It was kind of a bored performance.
Yeah.
Quite similar to Natalie Portman's in that way.
Because she didn't want to be there. She was like,
I
wanted Patty Jenkins to direct this. I wanted to do this because of a female director, and Patty didn't work out, and now I'm stuck doing this movie. So I'm just going to slap everyone in the face and say, this is for this, this is for that.
Yeah.
And kind of just be very cartoony, slap-facey. Yeah.
But also, I can't exactly hate Natalie Portman. I've never been one of those. I don't like. She's so wooden because obviously I'm a Star Wars prequelist, so I'm like, yay, Natalie Portman.
Yes.
Because Padme is the greatest of all time.
Those outfits, though.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Way better outfits. Now I'm just imagining what an Asgardian Jane Foster would look like, and that'd be great. That'd just be Padme all over again.
Well, you get a little bit of it. She's got some Asgardian gear on.
You do. But yeah, Malekith, be rid of him, change the movie into a quest movie to save Jane, because Jane, she gets sort of trapped in that first place.
Yeah.
By there, they get the police in and everything. It's all in London. Darcy's there, Kat Dennings.
Yes, which people hate Darcy or think she's annoying, but I liked her comedy relief. She was cute, and
I don't mind.
I like how she says meow meow.
Yeah, I don't mind her at all, actually. I think she'd work really well in the goofier Thor that
oh yeah, she would fit in
is
well.
Now. I really think she would. I do quite like her. Maybe it's because she's goofy before it was cool to be goofy in the MCU.
Yeah, because now they've gone super jokey, especially with Guardians stuff, like joke after joke after joke.
This is before Guardians. This is before Ragnarok. This is before Ant-Man. This is before any of the real comedy,
silly ones. Yeah.
So I think we should all give Darcy a pass.
I agree. I definitely agree. Her intern, she gets her own intern. She's the intern, and he's the intern's intern, and that was a cute little thing. And
yeah.
Eric
Selvig, on the other hand,
he's gone a little cuckoo.
He's sprinting around Stonehenge with nothing on.
Yes. So this is after Loki's been in his brain and manipulated him, and
like we saw at the end credits of Thor.
Yes.
There was a bit of tricksteriness.
Yes, so he's kind of been messed up, and yeah.
He is messed up. He is messed up in this movie. But I like what he ends up doing.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that he sort of figures out the whole... And I want to try and explain what actually happens in the movie.
But that whole end plot and the whole thing is so convoluted and so complex that it's just, you just kind of have to just go with it and be like, okay, yes,
and look,
this is what's happening right now. I don't understand it, but it's happening. Okay.
And look, I like the idea of making the story and the plot a little more complex, because one of my problems with the first Thor was that it was kind of just very, very simple. And it
Yeah.
almost had no story to it. It was that simple.
And I know you went into it expecting to get a bunch of Asgard,
I went
and you didn't.
exactly.
He got banished to Earth, and then he was in this small little New Mexico or whatever town for the rest of the movie.
I mean,
So,
who
yeah.
cares? um, but yeah, that may be what is sort of making me speak kind of positively about the Dark World, is the fact that Asgard is all there. It's everything is there a lot,
Yes.
which is
Did
what
you
was missing from Thor.
and did you miss getting to see Lady Sif in the Warriors 3?
With actual Zachary Levi this time.
Yes, who was originally chosen for the role but could not do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shazam!
Can you name the
No.
Warriors 3?
I can name Zachary Levi and Lady Sif,
Okay, well,
who is played
who is
by
who?
Jamie Alexander.
Yes.
Schmodown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anymore.
Well, what is his name? Zachary Levi's character name?
Shazam.
Fandral.
Fandriel.
Fandral.
Fandral.
Yes, Fandral.
Oh, I thought you meant, what was his name from The Hobbit? Lee Pace from The Hobbit. Thandriel? I don't
No,
know.
it's not Thandral. It's with the F. Fandral. And the other one, the Asian one,
the
his name is
Asian one. Oh yeah, him.
Hogan. Hogan.
Hulk Hogan is in this
Not
movie.
Hogan. Hogan.
As in Gung Ho Gum.
Yes, gun like.
Gun like.
Yeah, Hogan.
Yeah, his
And the
name even
other
said.
one.
His name isn't even said. Don't lie.
The big beardy one.
Oh, the big beardy one who at the end credit scene gives the collector the ether.
Yes, with Lady Sif.
Ah.
His name is Volstagg.
Oh, that's a cool name. I like that.
Yes, he looks like a Volstagg.
Volstagg. That's like being called Metal Smash. Or Wood Axe. Bloodbeard.
Or like, what did he name his guns in Ragnarok? Dez and
Tormund.
Troy.
Des and Troy.
Yeah.
That's not a good name.
Carl Urban renamed his guns Dez and Troy.
Oh, I forgot Carl Urban was in that.
Yeah.
I forgot Carl. Where's Carl Urban in this movie?
He's not there yet.
Why?
Or maybe he's there as a background guard or something.
Because Carl Urban was, what's his name? I remember the scene in Ragnarok where he's sort of talking with Heimdall at the bridge.
Yeah, the Rainbow Bridge. Which actually, speaking of Heimdall, like, you know, Thor in other things has referred to him as his best friend, and you kind of got to see that a little bit. Like, he betrays Odin to help out, you know, Thor's cause, and they have nice discussions about, you know, what he's taught him over the years, and yeah, I liked seeing a little bit more of their friendship here as well, because, you know, you can never get too much Idris Elba. So
Well, exactly. It's actually giving Idris Elba something to do
yeah.
in the MCU, and yeah, I quite like that as well. I like their couple of little nice conversations they had, and I can completely understand why Heimdall would betray Odin, because Odin is an unpleasant person.
Yeah. Well, because like I was watching Infinity War with someone, and when Thor's kind of going through all the things that he's lost, talking to Rocket, he says, you know, he's lost his best friend, and somebody was like, "Who's his best friend?"
He's like, Heimdall.
And I was like, "Heimdall."
That who?
So,
Idris
yeah.
Elba. Oh. Which
yeah.
tells you just as much as you need to know that Idris doesn't do anything in these movies through
Yeah.
no fault of Idris's.
No. He works well with what he has. So
Yeah. But no, I liked that. I honestly really did like all the Asgardian stuff, and I didn't mind the Earth stuff either.
Because you,
As obviously bored as Natalie Portman was,
yeah, she
at least
did
I
what she had
understood.
to do.
She did,
Yeah.
but you know, I've gone into this knowing that. I've gone into this knowing that it's like, okay, she's gonna be okay. She's not trying really.
Yeah.
Um, Stellan Skarsgård's good again.
Running around naked at
Um,
Stonehenge,
but
yeah.
he just has a weird storyline. But I, and again, bold statement number two. I kind of really like Kat Dennings.
Me too. I do like Darcy. I
I
like
don't
her
know.
comic relief.
I don't know what to tell you guys. And bold statement number three, right off the, is that this isn't the worst MCU movie at all.
Okay, so what is the worst? Now that you've seen all of them aside of Endgame until tomorrow, what is the worst in your opinion?
Iron Man 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Iron Man 2
You
isn't.
don't even like the Senate hearing or Justin Hammer?
I do like
or
Justin
the
Hammer.
big party fight between him and Rhodey. Like, all of that is so memorable and fun for me.
I can't remember the big party fight between him and Rhodey. I can remember Justin Hammer. And I can remember Ivan Vanko for all the wrong reasons.
At the Grand Prix thing, I thought you liked him there with his whips.
Did like that. It doesn't mean I didn't like Iron Man 2. I don't think there's a bad MCU movie.
It's just the worst. That you'd put this over Iron Man 2.
But I would put this over Iron Man 2. I wouldn't put it very far over Iron Man 2.
Okay, who's a better villain? Malekith or
All
Ivan
villains
Vanko?
ever. All Vanko is a better villain than Malekith because at least Vanko has reason and an actual understandable motive and storyline throughout his movie. Malekith just appears. Oh, there's some dark elves that have come to get the what?
Ether.
The ether.
And they want to just make the world dark when all the planets align. For what reason? Why? Because you're dark elves, so everything needs to be dark. Okay.
The thing is, I think that's a fine motive for a villain. Okay, look at some villains we've had. People just, it's their way of life against somebody else's way of life, right? That's fine.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But don't put them in this movie, where this movie is about the ether, and there's way too much going on for this silly nonsense with the dark elves.
Yeah.
We don't need it.
Yeah. Very unnecessary.
Make Thor 4 dark elfness. The dark elf world. Thor this should have been actually called Thor Ether's Revenge. Not Revenge.
Because, yeah, when it was called Dark World, I was like, I totally forgot why it was even called the Dark World.
Just call it Thor 2. Just call it Thor 2, and then you have Thor, you have Thor 2, you have Thor Ragnarok, and then now we can get on to Thor the Dark World, where it's just a pure Thor and whoever else versus the Dark Elves, right? But I suppose Asgard doesn't exist anymore, so that can't happen.
Yeah.
Damn it. Unless
Yeah, well, I mean,
Endgame
Iron
reverses
Man-
all that, does Endgame and the Time Stone just wishy-washy the Time Stone? Ooh, is Asgard going to be saved? I hadn't even thought about that, Janine.
Maybe. Because everyone's saying all these little, prediction videos and things that I'm watching all talk about how Thor is the key. Thor is the key. So, I don't know.
Thor is the key. What's that? That reminds me of something. What does that remind me of? I don't know.
Maybe it'll
Something shows the way.
Hmm?
Something shows the way. What's that from? Oh, that's going to annoy me now. Oh,
Sorry. I can't help
it's
you.
from Scooby-Doo.
What?
It's from Scooby-Doo. It's from an episode where there's a portrait that's pointing to one way, and it's like that. The name of that guy shows the way, and Fred's like, "Oh well, it must be over there then." Don't ask me why I went to that. Don't ask me.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sure
PJ
people
will be very happy that you went to
Yeah,
Scooby-Doo.
PJ, you know what that episode is. Remind me what that guy's name is whose portrait is pointing, I believe, to the left. Or to the right. No, to the right. It's definitely... Is it? I don't know. But it's a portrait that's pointing, and I've just talked about that particular episode of Scooby-Doo for far too long.
Yeah. Told you, the show is nothing without the random tangents and detours. And you're still trying to remember the name.
Stillwell shows the way.
Okay.
Jefferson Stillwell. Yes. Schmodown.
Good job, you.
We've got to
But you don't know Volstagg and Hogun.
No, but I don't know Volstagg and Hogun because I happen to be in the Scooby-Doo fandom. Okay. And as evidenced by the fact that this edition of Morgan Hasn't Seen was even relevant, I'm not massively in the MCU fandom, right? I like the movies, sure.
But
still always a DC guy in terms of comics and characters. Okay. For the most part.
Fair
as
enough.
Everybody knows, I do like Thor and I do like Captain America.
Okay. And you do like Iron Man now, right?
Do like Iron Man now. Loved Iron Man in Iron Man 3.
Yes.
Did not like Tony Stark in Iron Man or really Iron Man 2.
Your least favorite movie in the whole of the MCU,
honestly, least favorite movie in the whole MCU. I may have to put and it's not that it's a bad movie, but Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Close to that. It's just forgettable.
Yeah, I could see that.
Which is a shame.
Paul Rudd is just so damn likable for me that...
He is, and that is...
But look, yeah, I would agree. Ant-Man and the Wasp is pretty forgettable. But I still put this, I still will watch that and get enjoyment out of it. Thor, The Dark World, aside from the aforementioned scenes, I just was not focused on it at all. It did not hold my attention, aside from the few moments that I did enjoy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would much rather watch Ant-Man and the Wasp than this again, because it would just confuse me again, right? And as much as I loved the Asgard scenes and obviously loved Chris Hemsworth, and I love the fact that Chris Hemsworth actually looks like Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, without his weird blondie eyebrows.
That were the case in the first Thor, and by the Avengers, thankfully, that was sorted out.
Yes.
As much as I did enjoy a lot of Thor: The Dark World, the plot itself was way too much. It was way too convoluted.
Definitely been condensed, and I agree with you that they could have done a fun adventure thing
with
Loki and Thor trying to save Jane, and there's still some interesting stuff there because you don't know what side Loki's kind of on, or if he's maybe after the ether for himself,
exactly,
or to take over the throne or whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah, you didn't really need Malekith. You could have just done something different and not really had a distinct villain. But I feel like all these movies maybe feel like they have to have that, or at least at that time they had to have that.
And look, you've even got the sort of, like you mentioned there, you've even got the it's not entirely a battle for the throne, right? But it's there's a scene towards the end of this where Odin grants Thor the throne, right? And Thor rejects the throne, and Odin's all like, I have one son who wants
too much, and the other one who doesn't want it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could go for the sort of that angle and basically turn it into Aquaman.
Yes.
With the quest, with a little bit of battle for the throne in there. I think that's why Aquaman worked so well. I think that's why I absolutely love that movie. It's because it is a quest from start to finish.
Yes.
This movie,
and even though it was a bit of sensory overload, it was still a lot of nice. It was still a lot of cool things to see, and it was interesting things to see. This was
but it wasn't
a bunch of stuff going on, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't interesting. It was just confusing and pointless.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's a real shame because I'm so thankful that Ragnarok gave Thor his due in the whole universe.
Yes.
And I think he really is becoming very, very key now.
And he had all that time to kind of develop the character as it is now. Because he started very serious, and then now he's kind of come into his own, and with Avengers movies and all of that kind of building up.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel like a sudden turn that now he's all silly and goofy. It felt like it was gradual.
Not at all. And there was certain scenes in this where he was a little bit jokey. Just a little bit. But then there's also scenes in Age of Ultron where he does this as well. Where he's, is that where they're all getting drunk and is it Steve that nearly picks up Mjolnir?
Yes, and he has a face
like, oh god, no. So that's kind of funny as well.
Yes.
But wasn't Thor didn't in Infinity War, aside from Thanos, he had the most screen time?
He did.
So that just shows you how sort of
they gave him his own side adventure.
Yeah. And you said it before, people are saying Thor is the key. I said Stillwell shows the way, and that went there.
Yes.
But I really do believe that. I think Thor is the key going forward.
And I feel like, of all the Avengers going now into this new phase, I think he's still going to be a part of something, whereas others may not be as much. I feel like he's still going to be. Yeah.
By Tony for the most part. There's a fly next to the microphone, by the way, so I apologise for anybody that heard a faint buzzing. Tony retired. Go and talk to Peter sometimes and be done with it. Cap by death. Nice big soldier's funeral. Perfect. Love it. Look, if I don't see a soldier's funeral, it's just going to happen.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen. Do I want it to happen?
Yes.
Am I looking forward to it happening?
Yes.
No. No.
But
it needs to happen. It needs to happen, and it'll work, and I will accept it because that's what needs to happen to really give this movie weight. But of course I don't want to say goodbye to Captain America.
Like Superman's funeral from the start of Justice League? That was good.
The end.
Was it the end of Batman vs. Superman?
It was the end of Batman vs. Superman, and then you saw the stupid little dust float up before the camera cut away.
Of course you did, yes.
So, no stakes. No stakes. Yeah.
I still like that funeral. That's exactly what I want for Steve Rogers. But obviously, MCU, it'll be all happy and nice, and everybody will be there, all saluting, and I don't know, Peggy Carter's ghost will come back, and...
Yeah, but I've also heard some people say that, they'll go back so far in time that he'll just go back and stay with Peggy or something in the past, or something. I've heard things like that.
At this point, who the hell knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, nobody.
We're treating...
We'll know tomorrow.
We will know tomorrow. Do you know what's also crazy to think?
What?
Is that there's only 4 episodes of Game of Thrones left.
Oh gosh.
In the world.
Everything's coming to an end.
Everything's coming to an end. We haven't seen episode 2 of season 8 of Game of Thrones yet. Just about. No. But obviously we will have quite soon. It's a shame. Yes. What will happen in episode 2? Will Jaime Lannister go all... it's Bran. I don't know.
Yeah. This is going to be the hardest weekend ever. I mean, we're going to get Endgame, and then right after that, we're getting the Battle of Winterfell. Like, how are we going
all the death. Give me the death.
All the death and all the wine. I'm going to need all the wine.
All the wine. I tend to agree with that. May need all the wine to get through your next rewatch of Thor: The Dark World as well.
I think people are going to need some wine to get through this and all our crazy tangents.
Perhaps they will, but join us for a glass of wine and get through a silly lot of recording. Look, we had to find some way of making this episode fun. We didn't want to just be like, Thor: The Dark World's confusing and boring and boo.
Yeah.
So, naturally, I talk about Scooby-Doo and Game of Thrones.
Essentially, it works. It works for us.
It does work. Did you enjoy episode 1 of Game of Thrones?
I did. People thought it was boring, but
Who thought it was boring? Who are these idiots?
Most people, because I don't know, they expected deaths and fire and Dracarys and all of that nonsense right away. No, you needed to lay the groundwork. You needed to have all these reunions and introductions, because there ain't gonna be time for that. Just like Bran said, ain't nobody got time for that.
He did say that. That's exactly what he did say. Look, and like I said, we haven't seen episode 2 yet, but I can only assume episode 2 is going to be a little bit more setup, followed by a little bit more battle.
Yeah,
it's going to be a little
lot of battle. Like everyone said, this was the most difficult and trying thing they've done was the Battle of Winterfell.
Oh yeah, but that's episode 3, isn't it?
I know.
But I'm talking about in episode 2.
Oh, in this episode coming up.
I think there's going to be a little bit of action. There's going to be a little bit of setup with whole Jamie. Jamie's going to be confronted by everybody, right? Yeah. Oh, you killed my father. Well, can we just forget about that? No, of course you can't. Jesus Christ, Danny, get on with it.
Bran out a window.
Think about the big picture, goddammit.
Yeah.
People don't like to think about the big picture sometimes in Game of Thrones. There's only one person that does, and his name is Jon.
And Bran will be
Bran does think
ain't nobody got time for that.
But that's going to be cool, and we have seen it, like I said, by the time we have recorded this. So, bold prediction for Game of Thrones to see if it happens in episode 2. And will you look like an idiot or not, Jeannine, once you say this?
Bold prediction for episode 2.
Yeah.
I don't expect any deaths in episode 2. I'm still holding out that we won't get anything crazy until 3. They're just gonna try to make us calm before the storm.
Does this
maybe
episode...
Maybe Beric.
No, because Beric's out the battle.
Oh, is he?
Beric's out the battle.
Did you see his flame sword in the trailers?
Yeah, Beric's out the battle. Yes, okay. Beric's out the battle. Does this episode 2 definitely end with that shot from the trailers of the Night King's horse?
Oh yeah, lined up waiting outside.
It definitely ends with that, right?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, definitely.
That's our bold prediction. That's probably not that bold. Do you have any bold statements left to make about Thor: The Dark World?
It's still not great, but watch it for Loki.
Yeah.
Watch it for Frigga and Loki, and seeing pretty Asgard, and that's about it for me.
And look, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Anthony Hopkins as well. I love Anthony Hopkins. I think he's great at what he does. I just don't particularly like Odin. I just think Odin's just a curmudgeon.
Yes. And then you find out that he had a daughter and he just banished her and all of that, and tried to hide all the terrible things they did together.
He's an unpleasant guy, but that's not an Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins plays that perfectly.
But you get him kind of redeemed at the end, saying goodbye to his son.
You do.
Saying
it's
Asgard
nice.
Is anywhere you make it, and la la la.
It is kind of nice. He also has a little more to do in this than he did in Thor, where he just went, Thor, go away to Earth with you. And that was nice. But yeah, Thor, The Dark World, I'm putting it number 2 on the bottom of MCU.
Okay. Second to last.
Second to last, or number 2 on the bottom, as I like to say.
So you still liked Thor more than this one?
Yeah, because it actually made sense. But maybe only because it made sense.
Okay.
If this one had have made some sense, this is way better.
But you didn't even mention your favorite scene.
I didn't mention... my favourite scene was when Steve Rogers showed up.
Of course.
Or when Loki pretending to be Steve Rogers showed up.
Yes, that was very fun.
But
just that whole little kind of walk through and him morphing into different things was a lot of fun.
I love it so much.
Becoming Cap.
Best MCU scene ever up until Thor and Captain America compared beards. in
That
Infinity
was-
War. I see you've copied my beard. And then he says, yes, Thor, yes, I did. But yeah, that was cool. My two favourites. Just sharing more scenes together. A scene that I never knew existed in my life.
Yeah, so I'm glad you finally got to see that, and I'm glad we made it through these
did.
6 missed films. This is the point of this show, for you to experience the things that you've missed. And so I take it this has made the MCU richer for you going into Endgame, and
Yeah.
now you feel a sense of completion, which I'm hoping you'll get throughout our different series watches on this show.
I'm sure I will. That's the reason for it. I definitely feel a sense of completion. And as much as... more than anyone else, really, which I did expect going into this, Tony Stark, I definitely get the whole arc of now.
Good.
Thor, I got some of it of, but he's not had an arc, so to speak.
And you never saw him this way. You've only seen him in the more comedic kind of way.
Well, I mean, I saw Avengers, both Avengers movies, right? Both.
Yeah.
That the first one on Ultron, where he's...
But more him in his
there.
his element, in his,
Yeah, but he's not got the level of arc that
Yeah.
Tony has. And then again with Bruce Banner, we all know how I feel about The Incredible Hulk. It's the best Hulk movie. Or it's the best Bruce Banner movie.
Bruce Banner portrayal.
By far the best Bruce Banner portrayal.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I would agree
Ruffalo.
with
I love you. You're a better Hulk. You're
Yes.
a better Hulk. You're not a better Bruce Banner.
And so everyone is talking about Professor Hulk. Do you think we will get Professor Hulk?
What the hell is Professor Hulk?
It's in the comics. It's kind of a combining of Hulk, but he's still very smart and intelligent, and has,
No.
very intelligent speech, and he wears glasses, and
No. The point
he's
of...
basically a perfect combination of Bruce and Hulk.
Literally the point of Hulk... This is why I like The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton so much. Literally the point of the Hulk is Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes.
You can't combine Jekyll and Hyde. That doesn't exist. That's wrong. Go away,
Okay,
Professor
well,
Hulk.
something in the
Load of
comics, and I've heard
garbage.
many people hope for that. I guess they just liked talky Hulk.
Look, I don't mind Hulk can talk as much as he wants. Hulk can talk the way he does as much as he wants, but he is different to Bruce.
I guess people just like Bruce's Hulk, or Ruffalo's Hulk so much, and they love Mark Ruffalo, that they just want to see them at the same time, and they just can't.
Look,
It's not enough just getting Ruffalo, and it's not enough just getting Hulk. They want both at the same time.
I guess they probably do. And hell, if that does end up happening, then I'm sure it will be done in a way that I can enjoy, because I have every faith that it will. But yeah, tomorrow we are both seeing Avengers Endgame in completely different parts of the world. I'm sure we will both be satisfied by it, or at least I hope.
I think we will be.
I think
The
we will
Russos
be.
have not steered us wrong.
So
They
far.
love the fandom. They love these stories. They love these characters.
Which is my
And-
problem. They love these characters too much to kill them.
No. There will be stakes.
Good.
Trust me.
Good.
They know the importance of that. I think they
Okay.
do. So,
Well, guys, there you have it. Morgan hasn't seen MCU edition technically complete, but we will have that bonus episode on Avengers Endgame next Wednesday. Yes, Jeannine. Anything else? What are you doing? Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jeannine Dubine. I have a TeePublic shop at G9 Design, and you can see me on the Schmodown or at Malton Fest in May 10th, 11th, and 12th at the Egyptian Theater, the Malton's Film Festival, Malton Fest. I will be there selling and displaying my art, so come
Yay.
through.
Yay, do that, guys. If you are in the general Los Angeles area,
Los
or even if you're
Angeles,
not,
yes.
fly in from Kansas City and do it. I don't know. Someone might be in Kansas City who might tell you where you're from. But yes, guys, thank you for listening to another episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. And you can find the show on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. This very feed you are on right now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, Castbox, Overcast, Podcast Addict. Did you know that was a thing?
I did not.
Plenty of other ones as well. Google Podcasts, which I always, for some reason, forget to mention, even though it's Google. Find them all there. Follow the podcast on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One, where you get all the updates for the main show with me and Nolan Dean, and this Morgan Hasn't Seen with me and Jeannine. Follow me on Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in the, because 3 is the magic number, or on Instagram just at the Purple Don with no 3 in it. And is there anything else? Jeannine, there is one more thing.
What is that?
We have a logo.
We do have a logo.
We have a logo, guys. I'm very happy about the logo.
We're official.
We're very official.
I mean, it took a few episodes to come up with a name, and then
did.
a few more episodes to come up with a logo. So this is just all patched together, guys, but we're putting it out there for you.
We are. Look,
enjoy.
This was essentially a pilot series, and it's been greenlit, so
yes.
Yay, applause.
Yay.
Jeannine, we are, I believe, going to announce, or you are going to announce what you are forcing me to watch next in next week's episode at the end of the Endgame discussion.
We will do our little reveal of the next series of films that I will be forcing Morgan to watch. So look out for that next week.
Yeah, so stay tuned, guys. Subscribe to the feed, download the episodes, share around, and leave us those 5-star rate and reviews. And it was my birthday yesterday, so go and do that for my birthday.
Happy birthday.
For my birthday, please just leave the 5-star rate and review and just a little review. We'll read them out. It's going to be great. Thank you for listening, guys. Until next time, where we will have seen Endgame and also nearly the Battle of Winterfell. Bye.